In this video, we are going to learn that how can we use make and create make files to work with C++ programs. So the very first thing that we need to understand is the purpose of creating make files. So right now we only have two C++ files. We have main.cpp and we have message.cpp, and this is the header file that is going to be used in message.cpp, right? So at the moment we only have these two cpp files. And if we want to compile these files, all we have to do is just write g++, and then we will write main.cpp, then message.cpp. Then we will use this -o flag to create the output. Basically, we use this flag to name the executable file to our desires. For example, if I want to name the executable file as output, so all we have to do is just write output here. Now, if I'll just hit enter, so here you can see the executable file has been created. And if I just go ahead and execute this file, and here you can see we have our output, which is called makefile example, right? So this is the most simple way to compile files. But imagine that you have more than 100, more than 1,000 files or 2,000 files created with C++, right? So, I mean, obviously you cannot write the names of all the files here, right? You cannot simply write 1,000 names, 2,000 names of the files to compile them. So that's where your makefile comes in. We use makefiles to automate the compilation process. And the other benefit that we get from makefiles is that makefile detects the files in which we have made any changes, and it only compiles those files instead of compiling all the files from scratch, right? So before we just go ahead and try to make files, first of all, I'll just open up the CPP files to show you the program that I have just created. It's not a very complicated program. This is just a simple C++ program. Here we have main.cpp, and in this program we are only creating a message object, and from this message object we are calling this print message function, right? And in this print message function we will have our message that we are going to get when we will execute our C++ program. This is the message.h file. So when you call this print message from your object, it checks this message.h file, right? So here we have file guards at the start and at the end. The only thing they do here is they let this class to execute only once, right? It doesn't let this class to execute over and over again. So here from this class our function will be called, which is print function, and this print function is actually given in this message.cpp file, right? So here you can see we have this print message function, and in the message function we have this output called makefile example, right? So that is why when you executed this output executable file, we got an answer of makefile example, right? If I'll just go ahead and do that again, output, because we have already created our executable file by compiling main.cpp and message.cpp. If I'll just hit enter, here we have the output, which is makefile example, right? So this is a makefile example. Okay, so now that we have understood the program itself, we will just go ahead and create makefiles, right? So first of all, I'll just write touch makefile. Okay, here you have to pay attention that your M will be capital and everything else will be smaller and without any spaces or underscore. Just hit enter. There is no extension to this makefile, right? So here you can see we have our makefile. Just open up this file. Okay, now to create this makefile, we have to follow a certain syntax, right? I will just write the syntax here. First of all, we will get the target. Now this is the target, in other words, this is the output that we want, right? And then here we will write the dependencies. Dependencies are the files that will help us in generating this output or target, right? And then after entering the next line, just go ahead and press one tab. Remember, this is very important. because make files are space sensitive, so all you have to do is just hit tab, right? And here we will write the action. So action is the command which will use these dependencies to create this target, right? So I'll just hit Ctrl+S, and here you can see the icon of the Makefile has been changed, right? Okay, so first of all, what we need is we need output, right? Because this is the executable file that we want to create after compiling all the files. Imagine that we have 2000 files, right? So this is the output that we want. Okay, now to get this output, we need main.o and message.o, right? Because we have this main.cpp and message.cpp, and when we will compile this, only then we will get this output, right? But here, the only difference is this is main.cpp and this is message.cpp. But here we have main.o and message.o, right? So these are object files created by main.cpp and message.cpp. When we will compile both of these files individually, then only then we will get our main.o object file and message.o object file, right? So let's just go ahead and see that how can we create these two files. So to get main.o, again, see that I'm writing this main.o as an output because I want this as a result. Then I will use the dependencies to create this file. And in this case, main.cpp will be used, right? So this is a dependency which will help us in creating this main.o. And then we will go to the next line and hit tab. And here we will write that command that will help us in creating main.o by using main.cpp, right? So I just mentioned that if we want to create this object file, we have to compile main.cpp, right? And we know the command to compile any C++ file, and that is g++ main.cpp, right? But what we do is we write a flag and then we define the output file name, right? And then our executable file is created, right? But the only difference is we do not want executable file. What we want is we want object file, right? So we will not use this. Instead, we will give a -c flag. Now, what this flag actually does is it compiles this main.cpp and it generates an object file with .o extension, right? So with this command, it will use main.cpp to generate this main.o object file. And the same thing will be done to create message.o object file. But the only difference is, in this case, we will use message.cpp and message.h header file as well, right? Now, the command is exactly the same. We will use message.cpp. Okay. So, first of all, when our make file will be executed, this command will be executed and it will use these two files to create message.o. After that, this command will be executed and it will use main.cpp to create main.o, right? And after that, what will happen is we will write g++ and we will use main.o, message.o, because these are the dependencies, and then we will give -o flag and then output, because now we want to use these two object files to create this executable file using C++, right? So that's how you can create your make file. Okay. And the only thing that is left is clean, right? This clean command, it does not use any dependencies, and we will write a remove and static for everything and .o, which means that everything that has extension .o, with that we will also remove output executable file. I'll just save this file, right? So now we know that how these commands are actually working in Makefile, right? So what I'll do, I'll just go ahead and minimize this, and we have this terminal with us. First of all, I'll just go ahead and clear the terminal, and I will hit ls, right? And let's just go ahead and delete this. Clear it and then put ls, right? So now we have main.cpp, makefile, message.cpp, and message.h, right? Okay. So if you want to compile all these files to see the output after getting executable file, all you have to do is just write make, right, and hit enter. And here you can see all three of the commands that we wrote, they are executed, right? And at the end, we have our output executable file. Here you can see it. And you can also go ahead and execute this executable file to see the output, right? So we have Makefile example as the output. So that's how you can create and use Makefiles. Now the purpose for which we use Makefiles is very simple. Let's just go ahead and explore this. I'll just execute this make clean, and as soon as I will hit it, you will see that all the object files and the output again is deleted from this folder, and we have original files, right? So imagine if I go ahead and change the message, right, in this file. Let's just go ahead and again make all the files. Let's just hit enter. Okay, so all the files are executed. We have this message.o, we have this main.o, we have this executable output, right? What I'll do, I'll just again show you the output. We have a Makefile example. Okay, so now at this point, let's just go ahead and change this message.cpp. So this is the exact same example that you have a program compiled running, and then for some reason, if you want to add a feature, you are changing something in your one of the files in your C++ files, right? So let's just go ahead and change the message here. We will write hello world. Hello world, right? Let's just go ahead and save this file, right? Okay, so what we will do is we will just go ahead and again run this make command. So before you saw that all three commands were executed. We compiled main.cpp, message.cpp, and then using the object files we created the output, right? But now only message.cpp file has been compiled. Main.cpp file is not compiled because we only made change in this message.cpp, right? We did not make any change in main.cpp. That's why its compilation is not required. The only thing we need to compile is message.cpp, and your Makefile detects it automatically and do all the work, right? So after compiling this, now we have new message.o file, right? So in order to use that message.o with main.o, we again use this command to create new output file, right? Now if I just go ahead and execute this new output, so here you can see instead of Makefile example, we have new message which is called hello world. So that is why you use Makefiles to work with C++ programs because they detect the update automatically and compile only those files which are updated. And it does all of this without any human involvement. It does that automatically. That is the purpose of using Makefile.